So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Inside Out Effect podcast. I'm your host, as always, Stephen Jakes, the founder of healingthemind.co.uk and co-founder of the Inside Out Effect. And we thank you for joining us this week, whilst it's light, with our extra 1 hour of daylight gaining time or summertime. So this is episode 41, and tonight we're going to be discussing the topic of the top 5 reasons why people stop healing, taking action, and preventing positive change in their life. So, for example, do you ever stop yourself doing things that you know that will help you and heal you? Do you find yourself making every excuse in the book to do or not have something? Or do you just stop yourself taking action or going for something that you really want or desire? And we'll be going into that in a bit more detail and explain the top 5 reasons why we don't do the things that we know that help and benefit us. So that is very good, isn't it? Very good intro. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Right, but before smooth like peanut butter. Great. So this can be smooth in the second bit. Okay. Right, but before we start, allow me to introduce my good friend, my partner in crime. Alongside me, as always, I have the ever-present, the Nikola Tesla, the Steve Jobs, the Alfred Nobel of when it comes to healing, mental, emotional, and physical pain. I've got the pretty average and well below average Jonathan Shaw. So, hello, John.
Hi, mate. How you doing?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good. Yes.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm very well.
Good to have you alongside me yet again.
Thank you. That's good. Good to be here.
It is a special edition.
It's good to be there, but it's good to be here as well.
It's good to be everywhere, mate.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So this is a special edition, obviously, for obvious reasons we won't talk about.
Obvious reasons?
Yeah.
What is the obvious reason that people don't know about?
Well, it's the big 5-0.
It's the big 5-0. What is our 50th podcast? What is the big reason that it's so special?
I will be celebrating 50 years.
50 years?
Yeah, 50 years.
When are you 50?
I'm going to be 50 Friday.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to be 50 years old, although I don't look it. So it's good to have you here to celebrate that with me. It's a special edition of the Inside Out Effect podcast, obviously. Yeah. So anyway, so how you been? I know that you're always busy, super busy.
I'm super busy.
How have you been?
In fact, somebody repeated that back to me the other day. Said, "Hey, you've been super busy." I was like, "Yeah, I've been super busy." Yeah. I've been very, very busy. Yes. Doing different clients, different people, and. I'm trying to think of the clients I've been doing now. I'm trying to think of different ones. So I've been treating different things and
come on, spit it out.
I can't spit it out. I've been super busy actually working on a new process, DTOsis, and that's what I'm trying to talk about. I've been super busy working on a new process that seems to be yielding really good results, which I haven't shared with too many people yet, but it seems to work really, really well. And that seems to be getting really great results. I actually had one lady the other day who I was working with, who agreed to test it with me, and literally as I worked on her, the bags under her eyes literally melted away on camera. Literally vanished on camera.
That's amazing.
We weren't working on the bags under her eyes.
Yeah.
We was working on something else. But I know that this particular thing was working on also relates to fluid in the body. And I watched it happen, and I thought, "Oh, it's the camera angle. It's maybe I've got it wrong." But it literally just vanished. I mean, the light didn't really change. So after the session, I told her to get up and go to the mirror and see if she spots anything different. I didn't tell her what it was. I said, "See," and she came back and went, "My bags have gone." I was like, "Yes, they have." And then we sat there and spoke. Where she was like unbelievably couldn't believe it. And I actually got this on video.
Yeah.
And as we sat there and spoke for about 10 minutes at the end of the session, her cheeks tightened. And I said, "Now just feel your face." She went, "Oh my God, it's tighter." So that was quite amazing to witness that on camera. Watch it change.
I'd like to see that myself.
So I have got that on video, and I'm going to edit the video so people can see, cut out the bit we don't need and just see the change in it.
That's fantastic, mate. Brilliant.
So I haven't spoken to her from week to week because she couldn't make the recent session because she had to work. But I'm hoping to see how much that's stayed and whether it still stayed exactly as it was, because she just looked younger.
Yeah.
She looked so much different. And it wasn't because we cleared trauma. We didn't clear the memory, or we did something else, which was fantastic.
Well, I mean, I noticed for myself, just from the pictures in my wall to how I look now, I mean, I look younger.
You don't look 50. No, you don't. You don't look 50. A few years ago, you looked 50. Yeah. So a couple of years ago, when we started working, you did look 50.
I looked a lot older than that. I felt it as well.
Exactly, yeah. But you don't look 50 now. So when you say you're 50, that's what you know.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't look an age a year over 49.
No, exactly. No, no.
Yeah.
So that was that. So I'm getting some quite incredible results. So I just want to see if it's consistent and see how we get on with that. But no, that I've been working hard with that really. So.
Brilliant. So you might be able to get rid of my bags and make you look even younger.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have any bags? What about no bags under your eyes?
Anyway, so just to say good evening to Jane Haycock and Sue and Jane and also Umar. Oh, so Umar's back from Pakistan. Hello, Umar.
Hey, Umar.
Congratulations, because I believe you just got married out there.
Oh, congratulations.
So I have to catch up with you soon, my friend, and thank you for joining us this evening, and we wish you all the best in your marriage.
Yeah. Hi, Jane. Nice to see you the other day. I haven't forgotten the video. I will do it for you, don't worry.
Yeah. Absolutely. So so other than that, have you got anything else you want to share, really, or
no, not really. No, that's what I'm working on at the moment. I'm quite excited by the new technique, so I'm always looking for ways to speed things up, make it easier for people. So I will let you know more details about that. So hopefully that will work really well. So.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, great. Yeah, so you've also been working on my website.
I've been working on your website, yes.
So that's really great. So
I'm working on lots of people's websites. I've actually been busier with websites recently.
Have you?
And the new technique. But I've been very busy with websites. I'm doing my girlfriend's one. I've been doing another colleague's one. I've been in your one. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, it's really good because now it all goes to on the system, and you'll be able to just like book online, pay and everything. And because some videos on there, some testimonials, an introduction video, a lot more information on what exactly we do, or what I do on my website, and in a lot more detail what depression is, what anxiety is, what PTSD is, how it's caused, what the solution is. And so I'm really pleased about that. And obviously as well, I just want to show you my new media pack. Comes with a pen.
Comes with a pen. Excellent. Very important.
So I just want to say thank you to Bob, who designed this. She's done an amazing job. We worked together, and inside there's a load of goodies of when people come to see me. And like it says on here, your journey to success. And basically it's changing from the inside out. And there's a whole package here now of a whole process now that we take you from being stuck and lost and all the rest of it, and to help your life start working for you, as well as obviously dealing with the mental and emotional health issues that people have, which we work on. And so I'm really pleased with the pack and the new logo, and I'm chuffed to bits with that. So a big shout to Bob for doing that for me and being patient with me, because I had a lot of messing around with getting the designs right and stuff. So I'm really pleased with that. And for me personally, when it comes to working with clients, I just seem to be getting a lot of international clients now. I do have obviously my regular English local clients, but it just seems to be happening that I get a lot of international clients now. Now I don't know why, whether it's because they have a different mindset. We was talking about this earlier. I think that culturally we are too ashamed to admit that we've got life wrong or there's a problem, and we want to stick things in boxes and not deal with it and think that we can just wake up the next day, put it behind us and move on, which ultimately is what we clear in everybody anyway.
You speak for yourself. I'm perfect. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely perfect. My hair, my looks, everything's great.
You look great, mate.
Mentally, physically, spiritually stable. Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. But we do have this, and I just think that like I said, I've been working with in particular. I want to talk about a Turkish lady that came to me yesterday, and she turned up on my doorstep with her two daughters, really struggling to get in through my front door. She's with a walking stick, and she's had a whole history of awful stuff that most people wouldn't normally go through. You'd either have one, but she'd had all of them. And she was only a few years older than me. She's walking stick. She couldn't sit down. Her back was in pain. Anyway, I did the whole how the brain works, what causes all the problems, where it all gets stored, why all these things cause us problems, why it causes illness, sicknesses, viruses, all the stuff of what causes mental and emotional health, where it's stored. And so anyway, one of her big things was being stuck and not being able to move forward in life. And as you well know, that affects the lower back. So she was sitting on my sofa with about 6 cushions behind her because her back was in pain. Anyway, so I cleared about 4 or 5 big things for her. Yeah. And at the end of the session, I said, right, that's it. And her daughter come to pick her up. She got out of the sofa, started walking, and she looked at me and she went, "Oh, my back's not hurting. I was like, no. So anyway, she's then gone into the front room, gone back into the hall, put her shoes on without the aid of the walking stick, jumped out and pretty much went to the car without using that walking stick. And I cleared loads of stuff for her. So that was really, really...
It's great, yeah.
Oh, it's great.
It's brilliant.
It made me feel amazing.
When you see someone walk in with pain and they walk out without it.
Yeah, it's just like they walked in like a real, like in a really bad way with a walking stick and then walked out hardly using the stick at all. And that was just in an hour and a quarter. So really happy about that. And then today I had a Lithuanian lady who, so a friend of mine phoned me up. I was in the middle of helping someone this morning, and he wanted an emergency appointment. And she basically had a panic attack in the park, and she was in an absolute state, probably the worst state I've seen someone coming to me, and it was quite fresh. It only just really happened. She was she was really emotional. She felt broken. She was crying. And literally and there was two big things that happened in her life. One was her boyfriend, and because she hasn't seen her family in Lithuania for a year and a half as well, and it just reached a point now where it was too much for her, and and she was really struggling to breathe. She's struggling to talk. She was not in a good place, and within an hour I'd switched all of those things off. And then she just left all calm, peaceful, happy. Okay, it was just amazing today. And then I'm going to talk about this lady that I've been working with in Saudi Arabia. Now, if you remember, I said to you a few weeks back on the podcast about this lady I've been working with, that as soon as she woke up in the morning, as soon as she opened her eyes, she'd get triggered and then she would just start shaking, literally shaking.
That's right, yeah.
And she was shaking and she literally would be in a panic attack for 7 or 8 hours, and her life had stopped. Relationship was knackered, couldn't look after the kids, was completely down, couldn't go out. Was just, her whole life was just on stop, messed up. Yeah. And anyway, so I've worked with her now since the 1st of January to today, and I've basically had the session with her today, and she's come on and she's beaming, and all of the stuff, all the shaking's gone, the anxiety's gone, all the depression's gone. I asked her how she was today, and she's basically now making cakes. Her relationship with her husband's best it's ever been, and she's just basically on fire. She's just got her whole life back. She's looking at doing stuff with the kids and all the rest of it. So I've had, and they're all international clients as well, that I do over Zoom. So, and I've had a couple of few people that reached out to me from the podcast recently that I've helped, and I had a lovely, amazing testimonial put on my Facebook last night from a client I'm really grateful for, who just explained in just 3 sessions I've taken her from being in a real bad place into a really good place, and anything's possible, and you've just got to want it. And the problem is I don't think enough people do. They just, it's like you're being stabbed with a knife, and then thinking, oh, do you know what? That's okay. I'll carry on walking around with that knife for 20 years, 15 years or 5 years. And what people don't realize is that all illness, sickness and disease comes from suppressed emotions. And
I think the main problem is people, they normalize the way they're feeling. They think it, because so many people feel that way these days, they just think it's normal.
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. Oh, that's just normal. It's just who I am. It's just me. Yeah. And the thing is, that's not normal. Yeah. Just because a lot of people do it doesn't make it normal. It means it's
if I forget about it, I've moved on, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, I actually, I just remember what I've been doing the past couple of weeks.
Good. I'm glad you have.
Yeah. I had a lovely testimonial from a client who when she met me, she was in a relationship, and she was getting triggered in the relationship, because unfortunately when we get into relationships we get triggered. Yeah. And she just wasn't happy in her life, even though her life was good and she didn't really have any problems. She wasn't happy, and I'd helped her sister, and so she asked me for help. And as we cleared things out, the relationship broke down. That didn't work, so they separated because it wasn't quite right in the form she was in. And as we cleared more things, we went back, cleared triggers. And one of her triggers, I think, was potatoes. Just potatoes triggering her. And after about eight sessions, about 2 months of work, she's now back together with this guy again, and she just feels happy. She doesn't feel alone anymore, because she was feeling alone. Yeah. And she just feels more like herself, and so she's just back to feeling who she was again, and who the way she always wanted to feel, just happy and peaceful, and can take control of her life, having been taught how to use DCO. Yeah. So she was really happy with that. And another one of my clients who's had depression and PTSD trauma for years, certainly PTSD from the birth of her child. She had post-traumatic stress disorder and things like that. She's now been off her antidepressants for 2 weeks, and she's fine. Yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah. And she had a health worker come around and visit her just as we started sessions, and the person made her feel useless and small and pathetic, and like they couldn't help, nothing could be done. Luckily, she was speaking to me at the time. They were going to recommend that she goes to CBT, which a lot of people do. She didn't want to do that, but by the time that's come round, she's better anyway. So they've looked and gone, "Well, you're better now." So so she's done really, really well.
So instead of reaching out to us to help these people, they're just going to carry on referring people to do things that don't quite.
That's the problem. But
Anyway, so that's good.
So I
was just the reason I was going to say was like talking about mindsets, and I don't know what it is about English people, whether it's ashamed, whether it's not being able to admit it, or whether it's all about image and ego, about projection, about that you can't be seen to to have an issue or a problem. We're so ashamed of the fact that we have these guilt, shames, feelings, emotions, and what we do is we lie to ourselves, and when we project that we're all fine and we're all great and everything's marvelous, and then behind closed doors which I think is a shame, because if you're in a family, if you're in a relationship, if you're in a job, if you're in a partnership, if you're in a business, that's not going to work. And you're not performing to your best level, and in actual fact that can be dealt with very, very quickly and effectively. But I just seem to be having a lot of international clients who are just they're a different mindset, and they, as soon as they become aware of something that's not working for them, they're reaching out to me and saying, "This ain't working for me. I want to change it." The same as the ladies I've got in America and stuff. And the lady in America, she's like the top graphic designer for one of the top 4 accountants in the world. And so, but she's aware that when something isn't working for her, she doesn't she changes it. Yeah. And in doing so, she is building a really brilliant department, and gotten all of her and able to help with the communication problem that she's had. It's just working.
I think that comes down to really successful people who are high up in business, or have very wealthy, or have very successful at what they do tend to have a different mindset. Yeah. Because the only way they got there was by changing their mindset. So they know they have to change their mindset to get further. Whereas a lot of people in the education system in around the world, UK and America, we're not really taught that. We're not taught to the way to think, the way to think.
Well, we're taught not to think. We're taught to just information repeat. That's the problem. Right. We watch the media. We believe that the media is an official source of information. We don't realise that they're telling us what they want us to believe. There's probably like 0.0001% of the information in the world that's happening. They tell us what we want, and we then model a reality based around that. And we also don't question the other levels of education as well, because for me, when I went down that academic route about mental health and I tried to solve my problem, I come to realize that everything which we do now is that you have to live with it, manage it, and cope with it. That's what they're teaching, and what the causes are, and it's completely incorrect. Yeah. And so we put a lot of faith into this system, and actually they've fundamentally what they're teaching us is wrong, and it does keep us stuck and does keep us trapped, or offers services or solutions that aren't really solutions. No, right. So but I get that. But then I do have, like I said, I seem to be attracting a lot of international people, and they become aware of something, and they know what I do, and they just get it sorted out, and their life starts working, they're happier, and then and I love working with them as well, because they have a different mindset. So that's really just going to say another couple of hellos. Rebecca and Mike said hello to us. We better say hello, Mr. Reed, and hello, Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca.
Thanks for joining us.
Mike.
And I know you. I got a personal message off Mike the other day saying how much he loved our podcast.
Oh, did it? Oh, yeah, brilliant! Fantastic! I'm glad to hear that, Mark.
He's a good lad.
Mark. Oh, sorry, Mike. I meant Mark. Oh, I don't know. I've lost it. Forget it. Mike. I meant Mike,
such a professional.
I'm very professional. I say I'm such a pro. There's someone working me from behind right now. It's Steve's foot in parents. So that's why it's a little bit slow, because his big toe can't quite get to work my mouth. He's a bit lazy.
That's right, exactly. I need a bit more practice.
A bit more practice of that. Yeah. You used to have enough practice. You're 50.
I know, exactly. But it's a new skill that I need to learn.
You need to learn what to work me from behind with your foot.
Unconscious learning. I haven't quite mastered it.
Okay, fair enough.
So and the other thing as well was I'm having amazing results with the Mind audio.
The audio program.
Yeah, I mean,
when are they coming out?
Well, the first one.
As soon as I put them on the website.
No, I've got to record them. The first one's on YouTube now.
Okay,
and
great.
I've had about 100 views on that already.
Oh,
I've had loads of feedback from people that have said it's instantly changed what they're doing within 3 days of doing it, which is what I said. After 3 days, all of a sudden, people are starting doing things. So I know it's having a real positive effect. It's helping people go to sleep because of the meditation at the beginning. I say it's so nice. Even sends me to sleep. I send myself to sleep.
Send yourself to sleep.
I know it's actually not a good idea. I don't know if it's a good thing to claim, really.
What, you send yourself to sleep?
Yeah. But I do find
you sent me to sleep a few times. I say it. Sometimes I fall asleep on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But I use.
What are you saying? I am riveting. I am charming. I'm beautiful, I'm handsome, I'm intelligent, I'm wise, I'm witty. How can you fall asleep on me?
That's just a projection.
Am I projecting? I'm not projecting in your way.
Obviously, you've got an issue with that, and obviously I might need to switch that off for you.
All right, I'll switch off later.
Yeah, but I've been using it, and every night for, I don't know, about a month now, and I've just, like I said, I've done the whole pack. I'm just doing stuff without thinking about it. So anyway, if you're having trouble sleeping, go and have a listen to it on my YouTube channel. It's also posted on Facebook, so you could probably backtrack on that. Bobby says, I can vouch for that. The meditation is amazing, made things happen for me instantly, and also helps me sleep. Yeah, it does for me as well, and it's been a real positive addition to what we do, and I will be doing the other ones. I just need to get the questions for the next bit and record it. Cool. So as we finish our jibber jabber, the small talk podcast, small talk, I think we should move on to the first section of our podcast, which is no, it's not in the news. In the news, we're doing the news first, or no? I think we're
doing the news because the news is exciting. The news has been very exciting last week. So superb, the news last week. It's been brilliant.
So we'll go to doing in the news, and so this is some news that we've basically a few bits that I've picked out over the last 2 weeks.
Our favourite bits.
There's obviously loads of news.
Loads have happened, but our favourite bits.
Our favourite bits, because unfortunately, for most people that believe what's going on, John and I know completely different and know different, and so we look at this whole thing from the sidelines, and it's quite amusing seeing what's happening, how it's unfolding, and unfortunately the mainstream media have literally, like I said, it's like the Pied Piper. Well, it's the Pied Piper. They are literally the Pied Piper, and it's on steroids.
Well, what's amusing is seeing it unravel. Yeah, because it's now starting to unravel very quickly.
Yeah, it is.
And we're seeing it unravel more and more. Newspapers reporting things, even the BBC reporting things, and the news is now starting to unravel this whole thing, and more information is coming out, which is just laughable. Yeah,
it's great. So the first thing is when I did post this, I did post a podcast I think it's Friday night, which was a interview with Mark Devlin of Good Times podcast and a world famous DJ who done this podcast. But he interviewed a guy called Michael O'Bernica. And basically he's been the person behind taking the government to court over the whole lockdowns and the SARS-2 COVID thing, and basically it was really interesting because if you actually listen to that, it turns out that there's only 4 people responsible for the whole global lockdown, which is Chris McWhitty, Patrick Vallance, Neil Ferguson, and Matt Hancock themselves. And they actually put the papers in, I believe, on the 19th of March at 4:23, and now that's all going to be submitted. And what's interesting is that in that interview, he done a freedom of information request to the MPs, or I think it's Public Health England, the Houses of Parliament and the Lords, to say they want proof of the SARS-2 COVID virus, and there is no proof of it actually existing. No. So that would be interesting because in that court they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to provide proof of it, which obviously which they don't, because it needs to follow Koch's postulate. Yep. And if you know what Koch's postulate is, it has to have it has to be identified under an electronic microscope, it has to be photographed, and it has to have a biological description. And if that hasn't have it, it doesn't. It theoretically it doesn't.
Which they've never done for any virus. Yeah. But leave that aside, because they can't prove the virus exists. Then once they've realised that,
I think it's really interesting. Let's see how it unfolds. Yes. Because I believe they did try and do something back in November, which got pushed back from the court. But that was
because they didn't have enough proof. They wanted more proof. He's now got 1,200-page document of absolute proof, because all the evidence is in the public domain. Yeah. She's saying all the evidence from the public domain, puts it into a 1,200-page document, as I understand it. And has presented this to the courts.
Yeah, no, I've been following it from the start, and as you see, I haven't yet got my photograph in a nice blue thing telling me I've had my jab.
No, exactly. No.
It's not even anyway, it's up to you. And I mean, what I find fascinating is that why would I want to go and have a load of stuff that I don't know what it is? So I don't know what the contents of it is. By somebody I don't know, being told by somebody I don't know, who's been instructed by an organisation I don't know, made by a company that I don't know, by people I don't know, being told by other organisations that I don't know, who've been told by a politician, or somebody on a TV screen who I don't know, reading a teleprompter who I don't know, giving me information that I don't know. Why would I actually go and let somebody do that?
Pass. I'll have a pee, please, Bob.
I just find I'm absolutely gobsmacked, and it just goes to show the power of media and propaganda. So
it's very funny because everyone's gone and got the jab. So they can get their freedom back, and then they said, "Well, you can't fly anywhere," which
I said was going to happen.
Ironic. I mean, they've done it so you can fly and do it, and then they said, "Well, no, you can't fly."
Yeah, so they said that about Christmas.
Christmas,
and they said it. They had 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and every way it's now.
And people can't see. They keep extending, and they're just lying. They are just lying to you.
They keep believing what they're being told without realising. Hang on, you've lied to me for the last 15 times. Oh, but this time you're true, so I will believe you.
Anyone who keeps changing their story is a liar, blatantly. Like anyone who changes their story consistently is lying. Seriously, people, wake up.
I know. Anyway, so that's going to be really interesting to see the outcome of that. Mr. Hancock was also grilled in Parliament for not being able to provide information on the amount of deaths caused by it as well. And when the MPs actually started questioning him, he was told to hush up and talk to him in contact with him and talk to him in private.
Yes.
So that's great.
That's nice the way he treats his colleagues.
Yeah, well, it's not only that as well, is that Parliament is like, obviously they're representing us, but it's got to be told in private because we're not allowed to know.
Say it. No, that's right. Of course not.
Yeah. So anyway, interestingly enough, what I find fascinating is this whole Evergreen.
This is brilliant. This is fantastic. I love this.
Funny,
this is very, very funny.
It is funny.
There is obviously a bigger side to it, but the actual thing that it being stuck and the pattern it made going into the canal, if you follow this and you've seen actual news about it, not what they're saying on media, it is quite
but what you got to realize is if it isn't on mainstream news, everything that isn't told on mainstream news, everything outside of that is conspiracy. The only thing that exists in the world right now is what they tell you in that 30 minutes at 6 o'clock.
Yes, I know.
Everything outside of that is all conspiracy.
In which case, everything I think is clearly a conspiracy, including this shirt.
Yeah. It is.
It is a conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, I just think,
this is right.
I find it mad that it's just because somebody doesn't know something. It's a conspiracy. But and people don't actually go and look at the real news and find out real information because they believe that the mainstream newspapers are the actual news and nothing else out that exists.
I mean, what's really amazing is like 60,000 doctors and scientists have now signed the Barrington Declaration stating all lockdowns are ridiculous and this virus doesn't exist. And yet the world is listening to 2 or 3 people who are apparently giving advice.
Well, do you know?
You've got 60,000 people, 60,000 doctors and scientists say this is ridiculous, it's not how it works. Yeah. But the world's listening to 3 people. Fauci, the British one, is it Whitty or
no? So can I let me tell you this, right? So the whole lockdown was based on the information by a guy called Neil Ferguson,
right,
who used to work for GlaxoSmithKline, which is actually on this podcast, and he was one that modelled the whole where 2 million people are going to die from the virus. It was him that basically worked with Chris McWhitty. No, he worked under Patrick Vallance, who was also the president of GlaxoSmithKline, so there's big pharma connection.
Right.
And he hasn't even got an A level in biology.
Brilliant.
So guy,
everyone's listening. Someone's got no A level.
No,
in biology.
He hasn't got an A level in biology,
Brilliant.
but he was basically able to come up with this model and told the World Health Organization to shut the whole world down. The whole world shut down based on those 4 people.
Brilliant.
Which is interesting. So there you go. Very fascinating. And but going back to the Evergreen thing, obviously in the Suez Canal, which is really interesting because if you actually looked into that and realized that Evergreen was also Hillary Clinton's Secret Service name and all of the stuff that's going on with Haiti and all the rest of it, which we don't want to talk about too much on here. But if you actually go and find out about all the whole trafficking stuff, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if this might be the key that opens up the information that's going to come out. A can of worms, Well, it's funny as well because in China, another Evergreen container was actually across the road.
It was on a lorry.
It was on a lorry and it skidded across the road and blocked this motorway in exactly the same position as the boat in Suez Canal.
Now, for anyone listening to that, folks, there is no such thing as coincidence. The universe is rarely so lazy.
Yeah.
So for an Evergreen truck to skew across the road and a boat
With
Evergreen on it to skewing the ocean. That's not a coincidence, people. It's not the way the universe works.
What I will say is I'm on Telegram, and which I think is absolutely brilliant. And there's a group called the World Doctors Alliance. And if you are on Telegram, I would suggest that you go and look that up and join that group, because there's so much amazing information and fact that's on there, which is obviously obfuscated from the mainstream media, because they're just telling you a load of nonsense, which I will say, and it's just propaganda, and it's just anything to reinforce the narrative. But anyway, and also, so we're going to talk about so that was, I find that interesting. And then obviously there's the Rainer Fulmick. Dr. Rainer Fulmick is a German lawyer. He's actually currently putting together the largest class action lawsuit, which is Section 7 against crimes against humanity, against all the local politicians, the WHO and the pharma countries, who have been part of this whole lockdown and the whole COVID narrative. He is very successful. He's very famous. He has won lawsuits against Deutsche Bank and Volkswagen, and they're calling it Nuremberg 2.0. So I'm going to be watching that with bated breath to see how that turns out as well.
Because that's quite serious.
That's massive.
The Nuremberg 2.0, if anyone knows what happened Nuremberg trials originally, this is not just a normal case. This is huge.
Yeah, it is. And I think the fundamental problem is the amount of time it's going to happen. And I think that Michael Bernicle, whatever his name is, said exactly that their thing's going to happen a lot quicker.
Yeah.
This thing's going to be dragged out over time. But hopefully everybody that's basically been involved in it will get exposed and will be punished for this crime against humanity. I mean, the stuff they're doing to children is just sick and disgusting, and it makes me so cross. But anyway, I mean, we all have our position on it. You either believe the mainstream narrative and all the stuff because you've been told it, or you actually go out and do the research, find out the truth, learn about health, learn about viruses, and then you realize that what's actually really going on. And what they've done is they've managed to really heavily play on people's ignorance. And
they've done it really well. They've played on people's ignorance.
Because the ignorance, the thing is that we catch colds, we catch viruses, we catch flus, and actually we don't. They're just detoxification processes within the system, or a biological response or something. Am I right, Mr. Shaw?
You are absolutely correct.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
I find it quite amazing, really, because I have a lot of colleagues and things, and some have learned meta and things like that, and they understand this process. But I tend to take that to an extreme, and people have no idea, really, you have no idea how much your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings actually affect your world around you and your health. Literally, it will affect everything, even down to things you would not think it would affect. I spoke to a lady the other day, a friend of mine, and she was struggling with this whole situation going on. She's very knowledgeable. She gets it. In fact, I was the first person to put her onto the fact you don't catch a virus. And luckily, not luckily, I mean, luckily for her, because she had a small baby, she believed me and she went and researched. And it took her 2 months, but she found the truth that what I was saying was true.
Yeah. And
since then, she's researched everything else that's going on. She knows, but she's been struggling with it recently. So I did a quick session with her and switched it all off for her.
Yeah.
But we discussed the cold sore that had come up, and she'd actually had a cold a bit later on. So basically, her partner had a cold sore, and he didn't want to kiss her because she said she'll get it, and she said, "No, I won't. It's fine." Anyway, about 3 weeks later, she'd get it, and he went, "Yeah, I told you so." And when I told her the conflict, or when she looked at the conflict, one of the conflicts in I think Louise Hay was bitter words unspoken. It's slightly different in meta, but they're both doing that. They're both not speaking resentments and things between them.
Yeah.
So that's why
they're holding it all in boxes.
She didn't catch it. She's just running the same conflict.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing at all.
Yeah.
The only way you can actually do that is you believe you're going to get something. And if there's no conflict running, you just believe you're going to get it, and then it comes out.
Yeah, it will do, yeah.
But literally, it just runs our whole life. Everything we think and feel is the answer to a lot of most of our problems. It goes so deep, and people have no idea how deep that actually runs. And I just think if people could just grasp that and look at their lives as it being that and start changing that, the life would get so much better really quickly.
Yeah.
It doesn't not just for business or health or well-being, but even for the small things in life. With your kids and other people, this one of my other friends, she was having a problem with her son. So her son all of a sudden became really needy and clingy and wanted to sleep in their bed. Whereas before, they were sleeping. He was sleeping in his own bed. He was fine, and now he's being really needed clean. So this person wasn't getting good sleep. Now most people will say, "Oh, well, the kid's just stressed and needy and clingy."
Yeah.
Well, I said to her, "Well, okay." Well, I flipped it and I said, "Okay, well, why do you want him in your bed? Why do you want to protect him?" Because she's saying he needs protecting.
Yeah.
I said, "Well, why do you want to protect him?" And she went, "Oh my God!" And I switched that off for her. And that night and the past nights, he slept in his own bed.
Yeah.
So she was creating that scenario, even though it looks like someone else is doing something to you or it's someone else's issue. You are creating that scenario.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you to create blame or anything. I'm telling you so you can change it. Because once you know it, you can change it once you switch off the response. I see that with parents all the time. They say, "Oh, my kid's going to this, my kid's going to that." Well, have you looked at what you're going through and switch that off, and actually your kids might change around you. Yeah. I had another client a couple of years ago now. She came to me and she didn't come to me with this problem, but one of the environmental problems she was having was her kids were not going to school on time. They was always late, and she was always dashing around trying to get them ready. When we switched off the stuff that she came to me for, which was life stuff, overwhelm, stuff like that, it reversed. She was the one that was running late, and the kids were going, "Come on, Mum, we got to go to school." And they were ready, and it was just such a simple thing. But most people don't recognise their life is run by what they're thinking and feeling.
Yeah, exactly. The subconscious creates everything, and and it's fascinating because we have so many people going on about health and all the rest of it, and then we provide all these solutions. And and nobody's interested in actually what works. They're it only seems to be interested in something that they've been told or what they believe, and I just find it highly sad. And they'd rather sit and watch Netflix than find out something that's probably going to help them in their life. But that's another issue. Maybe I'm creating that. Right. Okay. Quite so possibly. Moving on. So now we're going to go on to on this day.
On this day.
Yeah. On this day.
You've not told me these ones today. You kept them quiet.
I have kept them quiet.
So my response will be genuine.
Yeah, it will be.
So
you said that a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. So on this day, on the 28th of March in 1966. No, 1866.
Okay,
Can't even get it right. Let's start again. On this day in 1866, the first ambulance goes into service.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is I find fascinating because going back to 1866, it would probably be in a horse and cart.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You probably got Oliver Twist on the back, flashing a torch, going like that. I'd like to sing that.
I don't think that would have been back there in 1866.
No, maybe whatever sound
had the sound or the music.
What sound he would have made?
I don't know. Probably to let people know.
There's all that horse muck that he was running over.
Would be what it was.
So a horse and cart, probably with Oliver Twist flashing his torch was the first.
Can you imagine trying to get to a hospital across town or the victim? They're not going to get there in time, are they? Let's face it. The first one, all of a sudden there's an emergency an hour away. It's going to by car, but no, obviously they wouldn't know that. But by horse, the person's going to die. Seriously, they could have been very successful.
Well, I don't know how successful it was, but I know the first ambulance went into service in 1866 on this day. In 1910, the very first seaplane takes off from water in Martinique, France, by a guy called Henri Fabre.
Henri Fabre.
Yeah, and he was the first person to fly a seaplane. It was known as the Fabre Hydravion, and it was designed in a way which allowed it to take off from water. Hence they called it the seaplane. Yeah. In 1916, the first performance of Jerusalem by George Parry, set to words by William Blake, at a Fight for Right meeting at Queen's Hall, London.
Fight for right.
Fight for right.
That's apt, isn't it?
I know, that's why I put it in.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, excellent. Fight for your rights.
Fight for your rights, yeah.
Which we are literally doing at the moment, folks.
Yeah, well, some of us are.
Some of us are,
yeah. So in 1922, the first microfilm was introduced.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you know what a microfilm is?
Is it the little thing that they put into things that the Russian?
The little things that they put into little things.
It's the microfilm that they have in movies, don't they? Where they've got secrets on the microfilm. I know. They've got a little film and they put the secrets on it in movies. That's what microfilm is.
Yeah. So anyway, basically what that is, it's an analog storage. It was an analog storage medium using film reels, which exposed and developed photographic records. Typically used to store paper documents, periodicals, legal documents, books, engineering drawings, and stuff. But that was the first 1920.
That's what microfilm was originally for.
Not for
now it's hiding secrets.
No, and being in films.
Okay, fair enough. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Filming the films.
Yeah. What sprung to mind is a Murder She Wrote episode where she had a microfilm put in her purse. That's why I'm getting tongue tied. I'm thinking about that.
Great. And so in 1930, the Turkish cities of Constantinople and Angora, they changed their names to Istanbul and Ankara. And most people don't realise that Ankara is actually the capital and Istanbul is just the largest city. So Ankara is the capital, Istanbul. And obviously Istanbul is very prone to earthquakes, and it sits just north of the North Anatolian Fault, which is very similar to the San Andreas Fault. You get a lot of earthquakes there over the years. In 1939, the civil war ends in Spain as Madrid falls to nationalists headed by the Francisco Franco.
Okay.
And in 1964, on this day, the first pirate radio station in England called Radio Caroline was founded by Ronan O'Reilly. Ronan, he's setting up near it. And it was initially to circumvent the record company's control of popular music, and in the UK, and the BBC's radio broadcasting monopoly. There's a shocker. Had a monopoly back then.
Had a monopoly back then, did they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh. So, hi, welcome to Radio Caroline, mate. I think
they were the boat or the ship.
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
I haven't got a clue. But their slogan was Radio Caroline 199, your all-day music station.
You've done your research, haven't you?
I've done my research. I have been doing my research. Yeah. And this one's for you, actually, mate. So in 1972, Elvis Presley recorded his final top 10 hit, which was a cover of Burning Love written by Dennis Lind and first recorded by Arthur Alexander.
Oh, okay.
That was his last top 10 hit.
Really? Oh.
So there you go. That's the on this day finished.
Fantastic. Very good. I like some of those facts, especially the Elvis one. Love Elvis Presley.
You're a bit of a rock and roll star. John loves his rock and roll. I love me dance.
I was born 1977 when Elvis apparently died. We're not really sure anymore. There's rumours. But even I wouldn't have believed that a few years ago, but I'm dubious now. No, apparently I died the year he was apparently.
You died?
I did die. I did.
Dead.
It broke my heart. It broke my heart.
In San Francisco?
I was born. It broke my heart. No, it left my heart in San Francisco. I didn't break it. No. I've not been back since, so it's still there somewhere.
Right.
No, he died the year I was born, and I was born up.
He must have known he was coming.
He must have, yeah.
I couldn't do that. I was already here, 6 years old.
6 years old when he passed.
Basically, you're responsible for his death. I bet you didn't.
Possibly, yes. He could have reincarnated into me. Although I don't have a black voice, so
no, you don't.
No.
Great. All right. Well, okay. So let's get to the podcast then, and we'll start talking about the information which we originally set out to talk about, which is basically all about the top 5 reasons why we don't heal, why we don't get help, why we don't take action, and everything else that I posted said it earlier on. So do you want to start then? So there are 5, mainly the top 5. There's a lot more, but these are the top 5.
Yeah. So there are reasons why we don't heal. So if you are working with a therapist or you're trying to get better or you've done lots of therapies and they've not worked, it can come down to a couple of reasons. One, that the therapy is not right for you. You're using the wrong tool to treat the problem. Or it could be that you have some blocks to healing, and there are what we call secondary gains. This means that you are getting something from the illness or the disease that you have. You're getting something positive from it, even though it may not consciously seem like that or logically seem like that. We will give you some examples of how that happens, but we want to make you aware of this because a lot of people, they don't realize they're doing this because it's totally unconscious. So there are quite a few of them. There's about 12 or 17 listed ones. I'm sure there are a few other ones that we come across as well. But there are about 5 of them that are very common that most people do at some point in their life. Yeah. Now, let me point out that in my experience, these things do not create illness and disease. Usually what happens is we become ill, we have a problem, and then at some point we learn unconsciously that this problem is getting something for us or giving us something that we previously weren't getting. And I have a classic example of that from a story when I was learning tapping many years ago, and I was listening to.
Can you fix mine? It's leaking.
No, I'm not a plumber.
Oh, okay.
No, not that sort of tapping.
Oh, okay.
I'll be no good at manual labour. No, I can't do that. No, it's my hands are too delicate. Look, it's soft. So when I was learning tapping, there was a story on there of a guy who worked with a lady who had put on weight. And she couldn't lose the weight. No matter what she did, she couldn't lose the weight. Exercise, diet, you name it. It just kept piling back on again. And basically, the secondary gain was that when she was slim, her husband didn't pay her any attention. He was at work late, no communication, nothing. He just didn't pay any attention at all. But for whatever reason, when she put weight on, he started coming home early, started paying her more attention. And so her belief was that if she lost the weight, he wouldn't pay her attention anymore. Of course, that was a false belief. And once it was switched off, that all changed. And I believe the therapist did change that for her, so she lost the weight again. But that's the example of how we can keep a problem running because we are getting something by having it. Now, that wasn't in her conscious mind. It was brought out of her by the therapist. And you're not necessarily doing this on purpose. It's just what your unconscious learns.
Yes, learned behavior
to help you.
Yeah.
And so there are 5 top common things that people do that then cause actions and behaviors that we're not aware of that stop us healing and getting better. So we're going to tell you what the 5 are, and we're going to give examples of the actions, behaviors you may be doing so you can spot that you're doing it, and becoming aware of it is part of the answer. It's half the answer. Once you're aware of it, you can either start to change it in your environment manually, or we can switch it off.
Yeah.
But you do need to start changing it as well. I've had to make this very clear to someone I'm treating at the moment that his behaviors and actions he's doing are causing his illness to stay in place.
Yeah.
Because the ones who come to us and heal very quickly, where they drop everything out quick, they have no secondary gains.
Yes.
The ones who are drip, who are complicated and challenging, they have secondary gains. And those are the ones that have reasons for keeping it. Even though they're working with us because they logically want to get better, they have reasons for keeping it.
Yeah.
So do you want to go through the list of the top 5?
Well, I think the first one applies to both of us anyway.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. So
what is that?
The first one, the number 1 is complaining a lot.
Complaining a lot.
Yeah. So
yes, a lot of people. British people do this generally.
Yeah.
We complain a lot.
But
I can't believe you made that the first one. Why do you have to do that?
Wow.
Why can't you just go for the second and third one first?
I rest my case.
Okay, fair enough. That was me complaining, by the way, just a bit of a joke.
Anyway. Can you stop complaining, please?
No, I can't stop complaining.
This is going to go on all night if we do this.
Yeah, skip it. Yeah. So people complain a lot. And yes, we are both guilty of that. And I know where it comes from me. It comes from my dad, because my dad used to complain a lot. So I've got a learned behaviour there. I don't complain anywhere near like I used to. It's only when I'm around your house, in fairness. So
I wonder why.
Yeah. So
don't like the decor?
But no, possibly.
Cooking?
No, I love your food. Actually, your cooking and food is lovely. The decor needs a bit of work, but complaining a lot is something we do, but we often don't notice we're doing it. Mine's kind of a learned behavior from my dad, which I have squashed quite a bit, but obviously there's still some little bits left because I'm not as perfect as maybe I'd like to make out I am.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to spot because we're so, as British people, it's also a British thing.
Yeah.
We complain a lot. And Britain's
we've
actually
normalised
known for it. We've normalised it.
Yeah.
It's a normal thing.
Yeah.
And actually, complaining actually does 2 things. It actually creates negative energy.
Yeah.
So it creates problems for us anyway. We can't attract things where we're in negative energy when we're complaining.
And it pushes people away as well.
And it pushes people away. People don't want to hear you complain about things. That's not to say you shouldn't talk about things, but to hear someone going on and on and on about something over and over again, that's no one wants to hear that.
Yeah.
But sometimes we can enjoy the feeling of complaining.
Well, I know why that is.
Why is that?
Because what happens is
you said that very intellectually, almost like you need a monocle.
Well, it's all part of my first hour when I teach people about how the brain works.
All right, go on.
So what happens is that obviously an emotion is an energy in motion. So what happens is that when we get triggered by something or we experience that emotion, the energy is then released. Okay. Yeah. And what happens is we now have that energy inside of us. So like being angry and what happens is that and this is why talking, we always think it's good to talk, because actually what we're doing with that energy is inside of us. And if we don't get out of it, it's still stuck inside of us. Yeah. And so when we complain, moan or get angry, we exude that energy.
Yeah.
And now we're like, oh, it feels good. It doesn't feel good to complain, moan and be angry. It feels good to get rid of the energy that's stored inside. The problem is the conflict or the problem that's caused that will come back round again because it's an unconscious program inside your mind and in your body that you're going to get triggered again, and that energy you're going to experience that anger, and then you have to let it out again. And that's why we feel it feels good when that.
Yeah, a lot of people have that. They feel like it's a release. So a lot of people who. You might have one of the other ones is that we haven't mentioned. It's not the top 5, but it's violent actions behavior.
Yeah, violent
people do that because they feel like it's a release.
Yeah.
And I actually have a client, a lady who's a little bit tricky, because her anger is like her release.
Yeah.
It's also her way
well, it's similar to attacking people verbally. I mean, you could categorize both of that when people just go attack you, go, "What you are? That's not right." It's the same thing. It's an anger.
It's also a protection a little bit. The anger's a protection, so she feels a little bit safe with it. She's also had it, so it's like the unknown. She lets go of it. So there's a bit of a loop running, but the anger, she actually enjoys being angry, and blaming other people. And she enjoys the way it feels. It's like the anger makes her feel powerful. And that is the problem with anger. People think that the only way to be powerful is to be angry. The only way to get their point across is to be angry. And actually, that's the worst way to do it. I know that when I've been angry, it never works out ever, and not once, and nor in my clients. But it can be a very difficult thing to get round. So people use the anger as a reason to keep it, because they think being powerful and strong and in control. And actually, that's never actually true.
So I just want to say good evening to Susie. She said, I've got a secondary game that I'll be coming to switch off. And I can't wait to do that for you, my dear. And I look forward to seeing you. I've had Carl Wilkinson, just good work, mate. I'll try and tune in for a bit each week. Oh, that's nice. So play football with Carl.
I just want to point something out really quickly, because Susie said hi. Hi, Susie. So a lot of people, Susie experienced some back pain recently, and she came to see me. And basically, I want to show, this is a great example of how quick you can get rid of back pain. Like how quick you can get rid of it. Even if you haven't cleared the trauma completely, you can get rid of it really quickly. All I did was show Susie how to change two things, two movements that she was making in her everyday life that were incorrect. I don't mean exercise movements or things like that. I mean everyday functional movements that was not working for her, that was causing her body to be in a state of tightness. It was holding all tension in place. And by correcting these two things, one thing mainly, within a few weeks, her back pain has completely reduced down and almost gone. And that's the problem with pain. But people don't realize a lot of pain is caused by a lack of functional movement. It's a lack of not moving functionally. So when I say movement, I don't mean posture. I don't mean the way we run or the way we sit or stand. I mean our functional movement, the way we use our muscles. And it was such a simple thing to fix, bless her. It was so simple, and she's doing really well. But it frustrates me when people are in pain, and actually just by solving a couple of things like that, pain can just go away. I had to interject that because I'm passionate about pain, and I don't like seeing people suffer. But so many people, so many people suffering pain needlessly.
So let's get back to complaining a lot. People in pain generally complain a lot as well.
They do.
So
complaints actually can cause injustice, which hits the neck.
Okay, that's interesting. So one of the things that I found that, and this is myself, and this is really where I was running it, and where I've started to find it with a lot of my clients, is when things don't go the way you want. When things don't go the way you want, that's when we start complaining. And that's generally a control or insecurity issue, really.
Human beings don't like it, and we're all guilty of this. When things don't go our way, we freak out, we panic, we want to control the situation. The problem is with that, and this is a logical understanding, the problem is that when we want something, what human beings do is they work out how they're going to get it. And that's not your job. The how is not your job.
Well, that's just manipulation, basically.
Kind of.
You're going to manipulate the environment. You're going to manipulate the people, the situation, the circumstances in order to get what you want.
That's what people try and do. And when it doesn't go their way, they freak out and panic because they don't think they're getting what they want. If they just pause and stop and allow things to unfold, they will eventually, as long as there's no blocks in the way, they will eventually get what they want. But when you hit a brick wall, the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is that a successful person just goes to plan B or just allows it to unfold and continues without freaking out. Whereas the unsuccessful person freaks out, throws their arms up in the air, panics, and it all goes to
and then they react, and then all of a sudden
they react, and they make another decision which is bad, and it goes off down the same thing.
It's really interesting you say that, because I sent a card.
I'm a very interesting bloke.
I sent as a little card I made for somebody, for a present I gave them, and I basically wrote this little card, and I said that you can have or be or do anything you want in life as long as you give yourself permission, allow it, and truly believe. Now, the fact of the matter is that most people, and I'm going to tell you this now, if you think about the thing you really, really want, and then go and shut your eyes and ask yourself if you've given yourself permission to have it, in most cases, the chances are the answer is going to be no. And all the time you haven't given yourself permission to have that thing, person, relationship, job, item, whatever it is, if you haven't given yourself permission to have it, then it's your subconscious brain will do everything to sabotage it because it hasn't got permission to have it. And that comes back into allowing it. So when we don't allow things in our life, we try and manipulate and control. We may get that thing temporarily, but I'll guarantee we'll lose it because the subconscious brain will sabotage that, and you will end up losing the thing that you want, which I know from my own personal experience.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. When I was learning another technique called theta healing, which is a more of a spiritual technique, one of the things you look for in that is permission. Giving yourself permission, other people giving you permission, God giving you permission, whatever it is, whatever your beliefs are. If you don't have permission from yourself or others in your unconscious, it's an unconscious thing. It's not a reality thing.
That's why I said if you shut your eyes and ask, because then you'll go into your subconscious. And as we talk about, if you ask your brain a question, it will give you the answer. Don't do it from the logical brain and from the ego. Of course, I always give myself permission. I'm hard.
Well, actually, what you said is important to recognise, because what a lot of people do when they ask them questions, they have their eyes open. Don't do that. When you're asking yourself a question, close your eyes. Not while you're driving, but when you're stationary in a safe place, when you want to know the answer to something, close your eyes and ask the question. Because when you do it with your eyes open, you're in your conscious mind.
Yeah, that's right.
And your conscious mind is not designed to answer questions.
No.
It's designed for like 7 things
per
second.
Seven items per second. Well, 2 to 7, and it's only processing for rational thinking, logical thinking, language, and understanding. And processing. Where most people live in their logical brain, and every time you make a decision, it's actually every decision you make comes from your unconscious or your subconscious, not your logical brain.
No.
So people that become aware, because it's your conscious brain is your awareness and your subconscious you're unaware. Everybody that becomes aware of something, they goes and tries to find the answer in the logical brain, and that's why we can't solve our problems, and that's why we don't know what our problems are, because they're in the subconscious.
We always ask the wrong questions because we're in our conscious mind all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's the first one.
So the first one. So the second one, which I know this is very common, and that's when we withdraw and be alone.
Now, we're both guilty of this one. I used to do this a lot, and I actually got triggered by my girlfriend recently where I made the same mistake as well. I do it way less.
You called her?
I called it.
Sorry.
No, but it's.
I didn't mean it.
No, bless her. She's watching as well. I
know. I hope so.
But no,
she's not now. She's turned it off.
She's turned it off. She's like, I'm going to get an argument tonight. I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Really?
No,
you've got to be careful then, because I might just stir it up a little bit.
Sorry, I'll just withdraw and be alone. It's fine. But a few months ago now, we was having a conversation, and she said something, and because I went straight into fight and flight, and in certain scenarios, in that fight and flight state, I would go inside myself. I would retreat, so I'm almost running away, but I'm running inside myself. I have switched quite a bit of that off now, so I don't do that. And it was mainly existing within relationships still, rather than I used to do it when I was younger in other areas of life, and I don't tend to do that now. But it was still there a little bit. I was quite surprised by it. I was quite surprised that was still there, but it's one of the things you don't always know until you get into the situation. But it was very interesting that happened to me. And that is a secondary gain, is to withdraw and go inside yourself. Yeah.
So the guy I had this morning.
Yeah.
I knew there was something running, so I went through the secondary gain list, and this come up for him, withdrawing and feeling alone. And his response was that when that happens, he isolates himself and wallows in self-pity.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's so he'll isolate himself, and then a bit like what you'll see on the TV.
Yeah,
you see it on the TV when something happens and the music plays. They go off on their own and they sit there and they go, and they wallow in that self-pity.
Yeah,
and that's like, I think that a lot of people learn that from the TV. It's well, we talked about it last week in The Flash. They do that a lot, and a lot of the TV stuff is they're teaching you that when something doesn't go, you've got to have this sad music and you have to go on your own and sit there and wallow in the self-pity. But that was his behavior, his secondary gain.
So it's important to recognize there's a secondary gain, and then there's the behavior it causes you to do.
Yeah.
So the secondary gain is to go off and be alone.
Yeah.
But that secondary gain causes you to behave, and so what he's doing is isolating himself, which sounds the same, but you don't always do that when you feel alone. Sometimes the behavior
that is about protecting himself, though.
Yes,
it was about protecting himself. If he goes and isolates, he's protected, and then he'll go and wallow in self-pity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about finding the behavior you're doing and changing the behavior, because the secondary gain is what's causing the behavior. You need to change the behavior.
Yeah.
And usually people do opposite ends of the spectrum with behaviors.
Yeah.
And that is one of the extremes. Another extreme when someone feels alone is they might pick a fight with somebody. They feel angry and alone as well. So if you feel angry and alone, you're actually going to end up picking an argument or a fight with someone because the anger stops you feeling alone.
Yeah.
And that's very common as well. Person doesn't want to feel alone, so they'll feel angry, and then the anger somehow gives you a sense of being.
Yeah.
So you can go opposite ends of the spectrum.
Well, it's just a pendulum of energy.
It's a pendulum,
the opposites. For me, after all my stuff happened to me 4 or 5 years ago, I'd found myself literally just wanting to go in bed, shutting my eyes, and just wanting the world just to stop and just shut down.
Yeah.
I'll be all right. Then I get triggered, and then I would just I can't do it, and then I'd go and just lay in bed, and I'd be overcome with this sadness and depression. I just lost all my energy, and that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I don't do that now, thank God. So occasionally I do. Normally after I've cleared something these days, I need to go. Because
that's a repair phase. That's not the same thing.
Yeah,
that's not the same thing now. No, you don't do that anymore. You don't.
I don't.
You've been super busy.
I've been super
You've
busy.
been like me, super busy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's number 2.
Yeah,
is to go be alone and wallow.
Yeah.
Number
3 is having addictions.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So
that's so common these days. Addictions everywhere.
Yeah. Well, we normalise addictions.
Yeah.
We brag about them. We're out there snorted on 10 points, 10 bags, Dave. You know what I mean? It was proper, bruv. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we normalise drinking every night, drugs. And or other addictions.
And the other thing is, people don't realise you can have positive addictions, like being addicted to the gym.
Yeah.
Or being addicted
That's a good point,
being addicted to sex, or you can be addicted to positive things, and all it's doing is making you run away from the problem. So addictions don't have to be negative. In fact, a lot of people's addictions are positive things.
Yeah.
So be mindful of that. If you feel you have to do something, or you're constantly doing something, a behaviour and action, whether it's good or bad, and you can't stop it, that's an addiction, and that is a secondary gain to keeping something. Yeah, we often don't want to let go of the addiction because we secretly like it.
Yeah.
But we only like it because it's temporarily making us feel better.
Well, that's the point I was going to make. So when it comes to addiction, what happens is we'll be in a situation, and then what will happen is we'll be in a state or a feeling. Yeah. And what happens is we'll do something, whatever that is, and then our subconscious goes, oh, I'm not feeling that horrible feeling anymore. I like that. Yeah. And then you making a connection to that, and then say, well, next time I feel that, I'm going to do that because that worked. And then what happens is over time, we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And then we absorb that as a behavior, a regular behavior. And then somehow we convince ourselves that that's what we need to do in this situation without us realizing it. And then before we know it, we're addicted to either positive things or negative things, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the beauty of that, though, with addictions, though, is if you take out the trauma that's created addiction, because addictions usually are created by trauma. Yeah. If you take that out, the addiction often goes away. Because
I've hardly got any addictions now. I mean, I had loads. I did have a lot, but then I had a lot of trauma.
You had a lot of trauma. That's right.
Loads of trauma.
You had a lot of trauma.
But I'm not addicted to anything anymore. I mean, I don't gamble anymore. I don't drink anymore.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs anymore.
No. You're a little bit addicted to
boring bastard these days.
You are boring. I mean,
no. So you're
quite addicted to that purple top, aren't you? I think you're quite. Every podcast, you're quite that. You like that. That's good.
It's the second time I've worn it.
Is it the second time you've worn it? It must be me, my imagination.
It is. You wore it last week. Oh, you're addicted to that shirt.
I'm addicted to my shirt. This is actually the third time I've worn this.
Yeah, I know. It's shocking.
But that's because it's one of the few nice shirts I have now. I used to have loads of nice shirts being a magician, but obviously over years they
disappeared. Right.
No, I turned them into another shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
now you've got a wardrobe full of rabbits.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
so that's the third one.
Third one is addictions.
Not rabbits. Addictions is the third one.
Yeah, and this is my favourite because I see this all the time, and when I try and help people. Even when I try and help them for free, they will come up with this little puppy and making excuses.
Yes, that's a big one. Always make excuses why we can't do things.
Oh, I would, but.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'd love to, but I can't. I'd love to, but I can't. I can't because.
And the other thing about excuses is that people will believe that their excuse is very valid.
Yeah.
Or something's come up.
But I've lost my leg.
Yeah. Or something's come up in their environment, like an appointment that had nothing to do with them. Apparently, it's just happened. They can't put it off, and they don't realize they created that.
Yeah,
they don't realize they created that in their environment to create something coming in a way and stopping them from doing the thing they know they should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people don't realize that's law of attraction.
Yeah,
because you unconsciously don't want to do the thing that you know you should do. you will create something happening around you that's apparently out of your control to stop you from doing it.
I know. I had this conversation with someone the other week.
If anyone's watching and you're stopped from doing things because the environment or people around you keep getting in the way, that is you creating it.
Yeah, I did have this conversation with a lovely girl at a little get together a few weeks ago, and she was telling me around she lost her job, and she said, well, it was all out of my control. And I said to her then, I said, you do know that you create it, but that's all out of my control. There's nothing I could do about it. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. And then I've done a couple of little posts hoping to try and explain what that was about, but I didn't get any feedback from that. But that was exactly the same thing I was saying. And people don't realise that these events that happen in their life is the law of attraction kicking in. And I've tried several times with people to help them, and I can clearly. They know there's an issue. I said, well, I can solve that for them. And then all of a sudden, on the day, the week before or whatever, it's like, I can't because this has happened. It's this, it's that. And so I said, okay, fine. Right, well, it's just an invitation.
Yeah.
If you want to keep it, you can have it. Exactly. So,
no, it's a fascinating thing. And we all make excuses on different levels of some things. I mean, I've literally, so for me, the best thing I always do is tell examples from my life because, that's the best way for me to give. I've had something come up for me recently, and I've realised it's an excuse that I've been doing.
To buy a new shirt.
It's Well, the shops are shut, so that's But
that's an excuse because you get it online.
I've created that somehow. I couldn't get online, I know. But no, what's come up for me is for those who don't know, I'm dyslexic, and I have kind of used that my whole life to get out doing things I don't want to do, like filling out forms.
Yeah.
And
filling out firms.
Or filling out firms. You stupid woman. That's a lower low line.
Explain it. I think everyone knows.
Everyone knows that. Well, not in foreign countries. America, they won't know that.
Well, they won't know that.
Good old Peter K. So, not Peter K. What is it?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Forget it. So, I've used my dyslexia as an excuse for you. Gordon K. That's what it is.
That's what it was.
I've used dyslexia as an excuse for quite a while, and no, I don't like filling out forms. I think filling forms are stupid.
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that. And what I've realised is I'm about to embark on a course to learn more about the law. It's not a legal official course, but it's for me to learn more about civil law and common law. And this excuse of my dyslexia has come up in my mind, going, oh my God, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not smart enough to learn this, because it is quite complicated for me. For me, it's more complicated. And I've realised, oh my God, I'm just making an excuse. Because I've learned so many things about the world that aren't true. I've now got to change my mentality to help me
overcome,
to navigate the scenario that's going on.
Yeah.
And some of it is intellectual, what I would consider intellectual stuff. And I've always considered I'm not very intellectual. I'm not very smart. I'm a very grounded person, down to earth. I've got common sense. Well, some people might disagree. But I'm not an intellectual person. I've always considered something like law intellectual. Yeah. And for dyslexic to learn
one of the very few people that discovered actually how to switch anything off in a human brain for anything and not only fix personal health isn't really intellectual and smart at all. So if I was in your shoes, I'd be pretty beating myself up about that as well, mate, to be quite honest. And write a few books at the same time. I can't do it. I'm no good.
No, I did.
My self-worth issue running there.
No, I thank you for that. That's very kind of you. And you make a good point. I've always considered I have common sense. I'm not, because the problem is I don't really want to be intellectual, because intellectual people are buying into all this nonsense.
Yeah, they will do that. Well, there's a study that actually said that the intellectual people are the easiest to brainwash and propaganda.
Yeah, because they don't think for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm quite happy.
What they're really good at is taking information and processing it, and therefore they can't discern the information. And what they'll do is they'll hear information and they'll go to the source that gave them the information to validate it. So it's a bit like the government telling us about the deaths, and then go into a government agency to find out, to validate whether they're telling the truth or not. Yeah. So it's a bit like asking a burglar, did you burgle my house? And then asking, did he burgle my house? No, we didn't, mate.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So
it's just a dream.
It's crazy.
No, so when I say intellectual, I don't mean intelligence necessarily. I presume intellectual is just someone who's read a lot of books, understands a lot of information. Well read, but they don't really, they can do exams, but they don't really necessarily, they know what they've read, but they don't really know anything.
Yeah. Well, there's a level between, because you have intellectual knowledge and you have experience.
Yes.
And I think that's where a lot of people get confused, is that actually just because you can repeat information, remember stuff, somehow makes you smart, and people that have actually experienced it and done it are the ones that talk out the bumhole.
Yeah.
So but that goes back to experience, intellectual experience and real life experience.
Yeah.
Reality.
So I've had more real life experience, if you like. But this excuse thing came up, and I suddenly realised, I can't do this any longer, because I need to learn this. I need to learn what to do to navigate what's going on in the world, and to make my life easier and better. And it's no longer working for me. Because in the past, it was just me filling out a few forms that got me, which, that's really the only place I really used it. It didn't stop me writing books. It didn't stop me doing anything I wanted to do. But now I want to do this. But it was funny. I sat down to look at the course this morning before it starts next week, to look at some of the PDFs. And my brain went, oh, my God, I can't. I'm dyslexic. And I went, what? What did I just say? That's an excuse. What am I doing? I'm making an excuse.
I know.
And as soon as I sort of said that, about 20% of it sort of lifted off, and I sort of started looking through it and reading it. So it does happen. We make excuses in all walks of life, not just with our health or a mental state or physical health.
Make it
we do it in
relationships exactly,
in
as well.
Work, with family.
And the other thing as well that I found is, not only do we make excuses, but we'll make excuses about making the excuse.
Oh yeah.
So we'll go, well, I can't do that, and then they go, well, of course I can't do that because of that.
Yes.
Right? But the excuse is made up in the first place, and then you'll make up another excuse to validate the first excuse, and now that validates it. You go, oh well, obviously I'm right.
Yeah, exactly.
So mental insane behaviour.
People do. They make excuse on excuses
all the time. It happened to me 6 months ago.
And it comes from a society, because in society, what do we see? What do we see governments doing? They make excuses for why things are not working, and they blame. What do we see NHS doing? They make excuses. Anyone in power tends to make excuses for why something's gone wrong. They never actually tell you the truth.
Or fix the remedy.
Or fix it. There's always an excuse. Well, this happened because of the last administration. Biden's doing that in America at the moment about the border. They're going, well, this is because of the last administration. Actually, no. Donald Trump was the one who fixed the border. He was the only one who did fix it. I'm not getting political. Donald Trump's not political. He's just a man. And now the Biden administration is blaming that. The problem is, when Americans can see through that and go, well, no, actually, Joe, this is your fault, mate, because he's gone against it. But that's what the
people in this country would see through our politicians.
Oh, so do I. So the thing is, we make excuses, but I think it's partly cultural, because that's what we see. We see all these people who are apparently above us and better than us. They make excuses, so we end up doing it ourselves.
It's a learned behaviour.
Yeah.
But I used to make excuses all the time for everything, really. And lucky enough, I don't do that now, and I do take responsibility for it. But the problem is now that I find that I'm surrounded by people that don't take it, and I can see why I behave like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're going to finish off with the last of the 5, which is another one which I think is very, very prolific, and that is we do stuff to seek attention.
Yes.
Like Facebook,
yes. Instagram.
Social media, Instagram.
Very, very common.
Yeah.
Being ex-entertainer.
Or making shit up.
Yeah.
You won't believe what happened to me earlier on. Oh, what? Oh, I was in my car and this happened and that happened. Oh, it's terrible.
Creating drama,
yeah.
And also people think that when we seek attention, it might be positive attention, but actually no. We can, if we feel unloved and we feel supported,
or invalidated,
we can actually get attention any way that we feel. So even if someone's shouting at us or being angry because we've been naughty or we've done something wrong, like kids.
So I used to do it at school.
Kids will often be naughty just to get attention. It might be the wrong attention. It might be anger and shouting at, but they still feel like they're getting attention.
Yeah.
And and adults do the same thing as well.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that they're only getting attention a little bit, but they're getting it the way they don't really want it. But it's still better than what they were getting before. My
Facebook's full of posts like that.
Yeah.
And you see it obviously because I know this, and I see it, and I just think, oh, really?
Well,
really?
Well, they're doing it now with the vaccinations, aren't they? Everyone's coming on posting, I got my vaccination, And they do it for attention. Why would you post that? They're just doing it for attention.
It's validation as well. They need to feel validated because they're just so unhappy in their life. They've got loads of stuff running. They feel unloved. They feel alone. They think, they
want to fit in.
And right now, it's because everybody's been isolated from everybody. They're not getting their daily validation fix or the daily drama fix. Now they're at home and they're having to create another version of it to post it on social media to get their 80 likes, because if they don't get their 80 likes, they don't feel validated and they feel alone. It'll give them that temporary, I feel good, I feel all right about it, and then tomorrow they wake up and they're gonna have to do it again. Because the thing that's causing that insecurity or that needs to be validated is running, and it will keep doing it over and over and over again. So no, that's
seeking attention is big one. And the social media has been driven like that on purpose, hasn't it? Facebook, Twitter, it's been driven like that.
My mate Carl, he said, I do the washing up to seek attention from the wife. Lucky you got a wife, mate.
I'm not going to comment.
He's got a point though.
What? Do
sometimes I think
I've never been married, so I don't know.
No, I haven't been married.
I've never been married. I don't know.
As good as
you've been as good as married. I have never been married. So hopefully one day, once I meet the right small group of women,
I can
5 or 6 girls are right for me.
Give you some tips on your hair.
Emma, if you're watching, I'm joking. That was a joke, Em. I'm serious. I'm not joking. I'm not serious.
Yeah, joking.
So no, seeking attention, but it's not always necessarily like positive attention. It can be negative. But it is a very common thing we all do, and sort of Facebook, Instagram's kind of geared up for that. That's what they.
But when you look at it, how all of this stuff is designed for milvies. What the hell's a milvie?
What's a
movies and films and social media and everything.
Milvies is a combination of movie and films.
I know that's what
it is. We should change that. Milvies. I like that. That's good.
Yeah. A movie that I don't know how that works, but anyway, I've lost my train of thought now.
That's okay.
Great. Oh yeah, no. So what? That's all social engineering.
Yes.
It's social engineering because what that basically does now is it puts us in a negative state. So it'll put us in a negative state where we learn that we need to have validation. You just think about that. I need it. It's all that. It puts you in a really low vibration and you need to be validated. You don't feel good enough. And now you can't take action because, what will everybody think? And then you're worried about being judged. And all of this stuff is subconsciously, you're just sucking all this information in from your news, from your TV programs, from your EastEnders, from your social media, all this learned stuff, and you don't realize you're taking it all in, because we do. And then what happens is all these programs start running, and then we all of a sudden just fall into that role. The problem is when you fall into that role, you're now stuck. You can't take power, you can't take action, you'll stay stuck in a relationship that's really shit. You won't leave the relationship because you've got such low self-worth. But the only reason you've got that low self-worth in many cases is because of the crap that you're putting into your brain and the stuff in your environment that creates that. It's an illusion that you've created for yourself. It's an illusional self-worth issue, because actually if you went back and looked at it, none of that's true. It's just that you've reacted subconsciously to stuff in your environment, and when we react to things, our subconscious takes it as a fact, as truth, and now we operate from it.
Well, there's so many new ways that's happening in the world. This whole gender thing that's happening, they're doing it for validation, for to seek attention almost. And they don't realize that's why they're doing it. If you're really comfortable in yourself, if you really genuinely love who you are, and however you want to be is fine. But if you genuinely like yourself, you don't go and post and say, I need to be labeled this. No one who's comfortable in herself wants a label. Nobody. In fact, people who are genuinely ill hate labels. They hate it. And generally want to get better. They absolutely hate the label. Anyone who wants to be labeled something is seeking attention, wants to be noticed, wants to be validated.
That's me. Well, it's an identity thing. I am that.
Yes, you identify it to make yourself known. If you actually genuinely have a good self-worth, you love yourself, and you like who you are, you don't need to do that. You will never see a genuine spiritual person trying to identify with anything.
I saw a really wicked post, actually. This reminds me, I saw it this afternoon, and it said there was this woman, and it said she was complaining to a KFC manager. I've been complaining to the KFC manager because of the amount of, bearing on that's a chicken place, about was complaining because the amount of non-meat free products that they had on sale. So she goes into a chicken place and complains there's not enough non-meat products. And this guy replied and he said, yeah, I had the same thing. He said, I went into a furniture shop the other day and moaned about not being able to buy a gyroscope. I just thought,
that is genius.
It is actually brilliant. I just thought that was so spot on.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what people do.
They want attention.
Yeah,
They're doing it for attention. So people, please stop doing stupid things like that.
Yeah,
There's so many.
You're embarrassing yourself as well.
You make yourself look stupid.
Yeah.
More so than me in this shirt. You're just making the putting stuff onto other people. You just have a self-worth issue.
Yeah, that is a self-worth issue.
And stop trying to identify things.
Oh, that's me. That is. I've got that. That's me. That is. I'm that.
Oh, I'm so that.
That. And apparently, there's no cure for it. You can't get. You can't. No, I'm stuck with it.
And as soon as you identify with something, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And people identify with lots of things.
And then what they'll do is they'll moan and complain about it. Oh well, I've got this thing and I can't get rid of it. And I've had it for years. And what do you think? It means terrible, isn't it? I can't get rid of it. And then what you're going to do is, oh, but then there's no cure for it, and I'm going to withdraw and be alone. Yeah. So all of those things, making excuses, seeking attention, withdrawal, alone, complaining, they're all basically probably all connected in some people's life. That's what they do.
You can even identify positives. One of my clients the other day who I'm treating, he's identified with the fact nutrition was causing his problem, and he suddenly realised as he's been coming to see me that
stop eating acorns.
No, he's realised that he's solved his nutrition, but his problem's still there.
Yeah.
So.
Because nutrition doesn't solve the problem.
But he's identified with the idea that nutrition was causing the problem. And because he identified, he was still running the belief system. And he sort of then just realised, as he's been coming to me, it hasn't solved the problem.
Great, because that's what we do. Our logical brain goes and looks for answers, and it will make up shit and believe the shit that it makes up.
Yeah.
And all these people that are experts will tell you that this is what's going to happen. And then you go and do that thing, you invest heavily into it. And I know this because it's exactly what I've done for 4 years. And you do that thing, and at the end of it, nothing's changed.
No.
And I go, oh yeah, and you have all these people preaching nutrition, and this is going to, you need to do this. Now, what that was going to do is it means from that point onwards, you're going to get healthier. But I want to see how eating raisins or eating an orange changes the neurological pathway in your brain and rewrites what's been stored in there.
It doesn't.
And this is the big myth. Everything is neurological. It's information that's hardwired and stored. So how is going for a run, pushing some weights, eating an orange, physically change that in your neural pathway?
It won't.
You sure? Because there are a lot of people out there telling you that it will.
No, it won't.
And that's my whole problem with it.
All anything does that you put into your body or you take in either moves you from a stress state to an alkaline state. So you're either in acid or in alkaline.
I used to be in acid.
Your food, did you?
I used to be many years ago.
I expect your face to be more like the Joker.
That's when I was running addictions.
Oh, I got it. Right, okay. Oh, you mean it was on acid? Oh, got it. Okay, well, that is an addiction. Yeah. But no, if your body's in a state of acid, then yes, you are going to be stressed. And if it's an alkaline, you're going to be healthy. And nutrition can help move you from an acid to an alkaline state. But if the conflict is still running, the shock is still running, I don't care what you do, nothing's going to change.
No.
So when it does change, if you use nutrition and it changes you from acid to alkaline, that's because the shock's gone. That's because you're no longer running the conflict.
Yeah.
If it's not doing it, it's because the conflict is still in place.
Yeah.
And I've had so many people come to me with that same problem, and I've heard people say, "Oh, nutrition, it solved my problems." Brilliant, that's fantastic. It moved from acid to alkaline, the shock had gone.
Yeah.
But when it's not working, it's because the shock is still running. There's no harm using the nutrition.
Well, I eat healthy.
So do I.
I eat healthy. I wouldn't. There's no way I'm going to start eating junk food.
No.
Because I know it doesn't work for me.
No.
But I don't use it to solve a problem.
No, it's not designed. Ideally, when you clear the shock and trauma, your body will crave healthier food. Your body will want to eat better because it knows it optimizes your system. So it's more of an optimization, an optimization thing. It just makes everything function better. Like putting oil in your car, that makes everything function better. But it's not the root cause. In my experience, it's not the root cause. It just helps. And if it has fixed the problem, sometimes juicing fixes it. But that's because the trauma has gone, not because it fixed the problem.
Yeah. And it's all neurological or biological in whether it's a physical problem or whether it's a mental or emotional problem. Yeah. And, otherwise I'd have people coming around here saying, "Oh, Steve, I'm really depressed." I go, "Yeah, I'll have a banana."
Yeah, exactly.
Have a banana and an apple. That's off you go. Feeling a lot better for that now. That's amazing. Come back next week and I'll have some walnuts and some dates for you.
Yeah, I know.
I've been so much better since I started eating those bananas. My depression's just gone away.
I know, it's ridiculous. I know. One of the things they say is good for depression is kiwi fruit. It's a natural antidepressant. But if you're severely depressed, even a little bit of depression, kiwi fruit's not going to change your depression, because what caused your depression is a loss.
It's a loss. I was going to say, what is a kiwi fruit going to bring back the missus and the house or the money? No,
and it won't change law of attraction either. So no, what we're not saying that these things don't work. We're saying the reason they work is not what people think.
Yeah.
If they have worked for you, that is brilliant. As long as you're better, that's great.
Yeah.
But for the people listening, if you're doing these things and they're not working, stop doing them and treat.
Or if you have to keep doing them.
Well, carry on doing them.
Well, if you keep doing them, it becomes an addiction.
Yeah, but you're just addicted to doing that thing again.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
addicted to it, even though it's not working. Yeah. Just change the response you're having, or find a way to change it, and you'll find the problem will go away.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think we've had
95-8% of the time.
Yeah. So we've had to do a bit of complaining a lot just then. So we've just.
Do you think we're complaining? I like a little bit of complaining. Yeah.
I like a little bit of complaining.
Well,
it's a positive.
I was only doing this. I was trying to get the point across. Oh no, wait, it's an excuse. I won't do that anymore.
You're just trying to seek attention.
Yeah, I do want to seek attention.
Okay. Right. Well, I think we're probably.
Love me.
I do.
You do love me.
I love you, mate. That's great. Don't touch.
So nice.
Don't touch. Social distancing.
Yeah,
exactly.
If I believe
get
germs
some
were
spray and some hand sanitizer.
Yeah,
which is interesting. I didn't actually say that. Did you know that?
It's been proved, doesn't it, that it's got benzene in it?
Yeah. It's got benzene in it. It says 44 hand sanitizers have high level of cancer-causing chemicals, benzene, according to the Daily Mail. Okay. Which I said from the very start, stop using them. Don't use them. They'll create viruses. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh no, it won't. Don't listen to Steve. What does he know?
Yeah.
Boris said.
Yeah, because Boris said. Yeah, because Boris is a fond of knowledge.
I know.
How can you look at that man and think he's smart? Seriously, I would never look at someone like that and go, "Whoa, I'm going to listen to him."
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I see people washing their hands in hand sanitizer, just doing it, and I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing to your body.
I know.
You are causing yourself so many problems.
I know.
You moron.
Yes.
It just baffles me.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to go. So I want to say hello to Nisha. So Nisha's the lady in Saudi. She's obviously watching. So hello, Nisha. Honestly, she's amazing.
She's amazing. Yeah, she's amazing. I have heard all about you, Nisha.
Yeah,
I promise.
Great. I told her
90% of it was good.
I told her that she was amazing today as well, and she said, "Stop having a moan, Steve." So I'll take your advice, and I will stop having a moan. So there you go. And so I think we'll call it a night for tonight. It's been fun doing this one.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed this one. It's been good. I'm actually well this week.
Birthday special. Really great.
Yeah.
As you can see,
are you hoping to get lots of presents? Are you doing this for attention?
Yes.
You want lots of attention.
I'm seeking attention.
Yeah.
And I'm just addicted to attention.
Okay. Cool.
So I've really enjoyed this. And so we'll be back in 2 weeks probably.
Yes, we will.
We'll talk about something else that's going to be interesting and fascinating and engaging.
We're going to talk about something fascinating and engaging.
Yeah, I don't know what though.
That'll be a first.
Yeah.
So I want to finish, but one quick point. The reason we pointed out your secondary gains is write down the secondary gains we've told you, and then look at which ones you're doing and work out your actions, what action or behavior it caused you to do. So let's say, for instance, you seek attention. Close your eyes and go, when I seek attention, what action or behavior do I do?
Yeah.
It might be that you withdraw and be alone, because sometimes withdrawing and be alone makes people message you.
Or you might be saying,
you okay? Are you all right?
Yeah. Or you might be saying right now, do you know what? I can't be bothered. That's just bollocks. That is. I can't even be bothered. That is making an excuse.
That's making an excuse. So then you can tell you're making excuses. But look at the action and behaviors that you do or adopt when you're running one of those secondary gains.
Absolutely.
And that will give you a clue to what's stopping you, what's holding you back.
Yeah, absolutely. So great. We'll finish there then.
Yeah.
Tonight, you got nothing else more to say?
No, I'm all good. I'm all talked out.
We're gonna have Chinese.
I hope so. That's
great.
One of the main reasons
I'm going to finish up now because I'm starving. I haven't eaten the thing all day. Right. So I want to thank you very, very much for joining us on this special edition. So we'll be back in a fortnight's time covering another topic or subject. And we don't know what that will be yet. So thank you for joining us once again. I've been your host, Stephen Jakes from healingthemind.co.uk. You can reach Jonathan or contact him or find him on his website, thedtosystem.com. And you can also find us out on the inside-effect.co.uk, or go to my website if you want to work with me or see my amazing website that John's done and look at the lovely pictures and read some stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of new information on his website, which is very cool.
Yeah. So we'll leave it there. And you can find us also if you want to reach out to us on Messenger, Facebook. And also, if you are on Telegram, go and have a look at the World Doctors Alliance and get yourself informed. Stop watching the TV. Stop listening to the lies. Stop allowing yourself to be manipulated and controlled. Now I'm going to leave it on that. So thanks again. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate all your support. And if you know anyone, just share this as much as possible. We really appreciate that. We do this to help people as much as possible, to share the right information. We can't reach through the screen and help people, but if we can take it away, but if we can just share the right information with people so they learn what they actually need to do about to get better, then that has been worth. If we just help one person each time, then that's
my belief. I don't care if one person comes and from what we do and gets help, then that's been a benefit. Or remember, you can go onto my YouTube channel. I think it's just go to YouTube, Stephen Jakes, you'll be able to listen to the Mind audio for helping you sleep and helping you become more productive in the workplace. It does really work. Right, okay, enough said. We're going to have a Chinese. Thanks for joining us. Take care now. All the best. Bye.
Good night.
End broadcast.